Hi, this is Daria with True Voice Writing Services and True Voice Unfiltered, where raw truth meets real transformation. I was not planning to make this the first episode of my podcast, as I have been busy just kind of creating the foundation, putting things together, making a guest list, kind of doing all those things to develop a successful podcast. But the FDA did something the other day that I knew I would have to respond to and maybe make my first episode. And I'm sure this is a topic that we're going to be discussing further moving forward. But as some of you may know already, I have Hashimoto's. I even hate to say it like that because it's under control thanks to functional medicine and wonderful functional medicine practitioners like Dr. Amy Horniman, who really took me over the finish line and got me into optimization land, as she calls it, where I have been for the past 3.5 years, after a lot of struggles. And I'm documenting all of that in my forthcoming book, My Escape from the Sick Care System. So that should be coming out soon. But what I'm here to talk about today is the FDA's crackdown on natural desiccated thyroid. So let me back up. Working with Amy and even with, there were a couple of functional medicine practitioners I worked with before Amy, and I document all of this in my book. But the bottom line is that I have been on NP thyroid and liothyronine, which is T3 only, for the past 3.5 years with much success. Now, natural desiccated thyroid comes from pigs, so it's bioidentical to humans. It has been around since the 1800s. It's very safe. Millions of thyroid patients around the world have been using it with excellent results. Like me, it is a wonderful prescription. And yes, it is a prescription, but it's not a big pharma product. You know, it's bioidentical to what humans make because it comes from pigs, right? Which honestly, I would rather take something that comes from an animal that's bioidentical to a human than something that's made in a lab by big pharma. But of course, pharma cannot make profits off of things that are natural, so they have to create synthetic versions. So the synthetic versions that pharma puts out on the market are things like Synthroid. I think levothyroxine is the other one. And most conventional endocrinologists, first of all, even if they don't run the full thyroid panel that we need, usually they just run TSH, maybe free T4 if you're lucky. But their standard MO is to prescribe Synthroid or levothyroxine, which is a synthetic form of T4, which is the inactive form of the thyroid. The problem is most people do not convert enough T4 to T3, which was part of my issue as well. And T3 is the active form of the thyroid that gets into the cell and helps your body fulfill all the processes it needs to fulfill, such as digestion and managing, controlling your body temperature and your heart rate and just everything. The thyroid is the master gland. It controls everything. And so in combination with other things, because functional medicine is very much root cause medicine, and I've learned that it's really not one thing. It's a lot of things in combination, and those combinations are different for every person. And that's what I love about functional medicine because it really is an art. It treats every patient as an individual, and it seeks, as I said, the root cause. And there's a lot of tweaking involved. Like with me, it took a while before we found the right combination of each thing. And now I'm talking specifically about T4 and T3. I'm talking about NP thyroid, which is natural desiccated thyroid, and liothyronine, which is also bioidentical, comes from animals, which is the active form of the thyroid. So it took a little while to get the right dosage, and actually now it's about 8 months ago, 8 or 9 months ago, we actually decreased my dosage. We cut it in half because I think because of getting inflammation under control and other things like through food and lifestyle, exercise, things like that, my inflammation has come way down. Like when I think back to like 2018, where it was and where it is now, it's like, it's amazing. So I am doing fine with half the dosage, but I still take NP thyroid, 30 milligrams, and liothyronine, which is 25 micrograms a day, or 30 micrograms a day. It used to be double that. But now the FDA, in the name of quote unquote safety, is banning natural desiccated thyroid. And so I'm going to go ahead here and share my article that I just wrote on this topic, because thank you, Dr. Amy. I found her video on Instagram making this announcement, and I decided to write a blog about it. So if you rely on natural desiccated thyroid to keep your Hashimoto symptoms under control, you need to know about this. The FDA, they released a press release the other day cracking down on natural desiccated thyroid in all its compounded forms. This is going to have huge implications for thyroid patients all over the world. Listen, how anybody can believe after 2020 that the government has our best interests at heart is just beyond me. Look what they did with safe and effective treatments like ivermectin and monoclonal antibodies, right? Does anyone really believe they have good intentions? Because I don't. I don't trust anybody. And I document all of this in my book as well. That's going to be coming out in the next month or so. And it's been a slow evolution for me, but it started at the age of 19 with my first visit to a gynecologist. But I'll just leave that there. But Dr. Amy put this video out and let everybody know that our thyroid medication is at risk. The FDA just announced that they're trying to ban natural desiccated thyroid. And yes, that includes NP thyroid and Armour thyroid, which is another popular brand that's used in functional medicine. They're sending out letters to manufacturers to stop production. They're telling doctors to start switching patients to synthetic thyroid meds like levothyroxine. This is Amy, now I'm quoting, "Let me be crystal clear, NDT does not work for everyone, but if it is working for you, it's working for me. You should have the right to stay on it, period. You should never be forced onto a one-size-fits-all medication, especially one we know does not optimize thyroid patients." Again, it's T4. It's not only is it synthetic, but it's T4 only, which is the inactive form of the thyroid. And if you take it and your body does not convert it, you're still going to have symptoms. Amy says, "We've seen this before. They want everyone on T4 only meds like Synthroid or levothyroxine, even though T4 alone never gets people truly optimized. This is just the beginning. If we don't speak up now, they'll come for T3 next. We need to be louder, we need to push back, and we need to protect the millions of people who rely on NDT to function, thrive, and feel like themselves again. Don't let the FDA take this away. Share this post, tag a friend, spread the word. We deserve options. We deserve to choose what works for our own health." 100%. And absolutely, let me just say, they've been coming after supplements. They have not been successful thus far, but they've been trying to regulate the supplement industry for years now. And I think about 3 years ago, somebody tried to introduce a bill, which didn't go anywhere. There was pushback. But if they're coming after natural desiccated thyroid, how long until they come after supplements again? How long until they come after functional medicine practitioners who are not in that conventional medicine box? Right? It's really frustrating. And for anyone who thinks that this is, that Amy is being an alarmist, like, wake up. If you didn't realize, like I said, if you lived through 2020 and you still trust the government, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, but for anyone who doesn't know, natural desiccated thyroid extract is a medication derived from the dried thyroid glands of pigs. It contains both T4 and T3, the two main thyroid hormones your body needs for energy, metabolism, and overall function. And like I said, T4 has to convert to T3. That happens in the body. The liver plays a role in that. Various parts of the body play a role in that. I'm not a doctor. I'm just giving you sort of the basics here. But if T4 doesn't convert to T3, every cell receptor in your body has every cell in your body has receptors for T3. And if you don't convert enough T4 to T3, nothing's going to happen. Okay, the T3 is not going to get into the cells and help the cell do what it needs to do to make you feel good, right? Grow your hair, regulate your heart rate, regulate your body temperature, regulate your digestion, right? A lot of thyroid patients, just to name some symptoms that a lot of people have. I mean, so I didn't have this, but a lot of people get constipation with Hashimoto's, which is a form of hypothyroidism. It's the autoimmune form of hypothyroidism. 95% of hypothyroid patients have Hashimoto's, right? You may have your hair will fall out. I mean, in my case, my hair was thinning. It didn't fall out in clumps, but definitely over time it thinned out. I had skin breakouts. I had fatigue. Now, I didn't have the crushing fatigue that a lot of thyroid patients get, where like they can't even, like, they have to go to bed in the afternoon, right? They have to take a nap. It wasn't that bad for me. It was more of a low level fatigue, but it was still fatigue and it was still very annoying. What else did I have? Oh, inability to lose weight. I mean, I had gained weight inexplicably because I've been low carb, flexing back and forth on low carb since I discovered Dr. Atkins in 1999. Again, something I explain in my book. But somewhere along the way, it stopped working for me. I didn't realize it was because I developed Hashimoto's. Long story short, really, it doesn't matter how well you eat. if your thyroid, if your T3 levels are low. I mean, my T3 levels at one point were like 1.28, which is horrible. Functional medicine wants it to be at 3.2 or higher. And that's like a topic for another podcast to talk about functional medicine labs versus conventional medicine labs or lab results, right? But my point is weight gain or inability to lose weight is another symptom of hypothyroidism slash Hashimoto's. And there are many others. So I mentioned the skin breakouts, the hair thinning, the hair falling out, the lack of energy, constipation, and many other symptoms. Basically, it's miserable, okay, when you don't have enough T3 in your system. So NDT has existed for more than a century, natural desiccated thyroid, and lots of patients report that it works better than synthetic levothyroxine because it's T4 only. Now, NDT it's a combination of T4 and T3. In my case, I take NDT, but I also take straight T3 together. And that combination works for me. But again, it's very individualized. It's different for each patient. When you work with a functional practitioner, they will work with you to find that sweet spot, to find the right dosage. Some people just need T3 only. Most people need a combination of things. But regardless, natural desiccated thyroid contains T4 and T3 in one pill. So NP thyroid, Armor thyroid, each pill, it's mostly T4, but there is some T3 in there. And it has helped many, many, many patients, probably millions of patients around the world like me. Okay, so here's the FDA's recent actions. I linked to the article or the press release that they published on their website on August 8th, 2025. So Amy was not being an alarmist. This was published on the FDA's website. And it's basically saying animal-derived thyroid medications are not FDA approved, yet an estimated 1.5 million patients received prescriptions for these medications from U.S. outpatient retail pharmacies in 2024. Due to their complex biological origin, these medications contain many compounds that are uncharacterized for safety and effectiveness. Again, this is the FDA, right? The same organization that wants you to take a vaccine that causes turbo cancer, right? Instead of a safe medication like ivermectin or taking monoclonal antibodies, right? This is a joke. I'm sorry. This is not about safety and effectiveness. This is about big pharma profits. Okay. And of course, their answer is, oh, Professional Medical Society guidelines, don't even get me started on the AMA, recommends synthetic levothyroxine as the preferred treatment for hypothyroidism with the goal of normalizing thyroid hormone levels. Yeah, except it doesn't work. So of course they're framing it as concern for the safety of patients. And as I said, insert eye roll here. They sent letters, the FDA sent letters to manufacturers, importers, and distributors of marketed, unapproved animal-derived thyroid medications on August 6th, 2025. Again, Amy is not being an alarmist. It's right here. This letter notified them of the agency's intent to take action against unapproved animal thyroid-derived thyroid medication. Doctors will be able to work with their patients to safely transition them to an FDA-approved hormone replacement medication. This makes me so angry. Knowing what I know, why would anyone in their right mind want to take a synthetic version of something you can get that's when you can get a bioidentical version from an animal that's actually, it's bioidentical to the human body, bioidentical to what the body should be producing, but for a lot of thyroid patients, the body does not. Then here's the threat. Manufacturers, importers, and distributors of unapproved animal-derived thyroid medications may be subject to compliance action if they commercially distribute their unapproved products. Additionally, these unapproved animal-derived thyroid medications are not eligible for compounding because they are regulated as biological products under the Public Health Service Act. Again, oh, they're not taking immediate action against manufacturers who make unapproved animal-derived thyroid medication to give patients time to transition to an FDA-approved medication to treat their hypothyroidism. The agency urges patients taking these unapproved animal-derived thyroid medications to treat hypothyroidism to talk to their doctor. Your primary care doctor or professional medical society, oh, please don't make me laugh, such as the Endocrine Society or the American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists, what a joke, can help identify an experienced endocrinologist, which is a specialist who supports patients with thyroid and other hormone disorders. Yeah, they're the specialist that's only going to run TSH, maybe free T4, maybe the thyroid antibodies if you're lucky. And then like me, they're going to look at your antibodies that are in the 800s and tell you, oh, we'll just keep an eye on it. This is all documented in my book. Okay. I've been there. I've experienced the medical gaslighting. Okay. If you really want help with your hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, you got to see a functional medicine practitioner. I highly recommend Dr. Amy, and I would put Dr. Amy up against any endocrinologist any day, anytime, anywhere, because they don't know anything about treating Hashimoto's. So generous, and again, it's the system. And I'm not saying I'm not a doctor, right? It's the system because the system is not designed for people to thrive. It just isn't. So isn't this generous of the FDA? Not surprisingly, they recommend that conventional healthcare practitioners, like the aforementioned endocrinologists, force patients taking DTEs, desiccated thyroid extracts, to transition to synthetic counterparts made by pharma, and they just don't seem to care that patients like me have been safely taking these for years with much success and no side effects, working with qualified functional medicine practitioners. So here's my perspective. The FDA can pretend all they want that this move is motivated by safety. If you're awake, you see it differently. For years, again, people with hypothyroidism have reported feeling better on NDT than on synthetic T4 alone. They describe improvements in energy, mood, weight management, and cognitive function. Functional medicine practitioners like Dr. Amy often attribute this to the inclusion of T3, which, as I mentioned, is the active form of the hormone your cells actually use. In my experience, most practitioners use both NDT, so a natural desiccated thyroid product like Armor or NP thyroid, and liothyronine, which is T3 only. Again, it depends on the needs of each patient. Now, if this mandate makes natural desiccated thyroid unavailable, patients like me who rely on customized doses, we're going to have to do some serious thinking about what comes next, because I personally refuse to take synthetic hormones, and I'm not going to apply with this assault on medical freedom disguised as concern. And that's really the bottom line here, right? It's really about medical freedom. It's about our right to make our own choices in conjunction with the practitioners we choose to work with. And this is really assault on our freedom and assault on our freedom. And I'm actually very concerned about what this means for functional medicine practitioners like Dr. Amy. So these types of doctors now are practitioners, right? Because some of them are medical doctors that came over, they have different degrees, right? The point is a good functional medicine practitioner who specializes in the thyroid, like Dr. Amy, knows so much more than an endocrinologist and actually works with patients to optimize them and actually gets results. So the patients like me feel great. So they're going to have to figure out how to support patients who want to stay on natural desiccated thyroid in light of this whole crackdown. I'm guessing, that most functional medicine practitioners are not going to be for transitioning their patients to commercially manufactured NDT brands. I don't know. I really shouldn't say that, but they're definitely not going to recommend synthetic T4, T3 combinations. So if they're truly committed to their philosophy and the way that they treat patients. So it's not their fault, obviously. I mean, functional and integrative medical practitioners, like I said, I feel like they're on the chopping block too with this FDA crackdown, because again, they've been coming after supplements. Now they're coming after natural desiccated thyroid. How long until they come after functional medicine practitioners, right? I'm also on something called low-dose naltrexone. Low-dose naltrexone, not naltrexone, low-dose naltrexone. In low doses, naltrexone, right, which is a medication used to treat addiction, in low doses, it balances the immune system. So that's something I'm doing in conjunction with the natural desiccated thyroid, the liothyronine, and other supplements that I take. Again, lifting weights, eating real food, just, living a good lifestyle, things like that, drinking a lot of water, all the healthy things. So this is really concerning. So I don't know what's going to happen. But again, it's definitely an assault on medical freedom. We should have the freedom to choose. We're supposed to live in a free country. That's another topic I could go off about, but this is an example of how we're not really in a free country. Now, if you're a patient or practitioner and you're concerned about losing access to natural desiccated thyroid, stay informed. I recommend following Dr. Amy. I'm going to share her links. contact your elected officials. I did that already. Now, I just found out about this yesterday. So today is Sunday. I found out yesterday was Saturday. So I'm going to call on Monday, but I did reach out to, I live in Florida. I reached out to both of my senators. I'm going to reach out to my rep in Congress and state reps on Monday. Actually pick up the phone and call. I did in these emails that I sent, I shared my success with NDT as part of my advocacy efforts. Support petitions, I'm going to share that in a second. I did fill out a petition and just realize that this is not about safety. Wake up and fight back. It's going to adversely affect the lives of hypothyroid patients nationwide. While the FDA preaches safety, patients and practitioners know it's an attack on their access to a therapy that has transformed their quality of life. If you rely on NDT, now is the time to stay informed, get involved, and advocate for your right to choose the treatment that works best for you. Follow Dr. Amy Horniman on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for updates. And here's Dr. Amy responding to a skeptic who's saying, don't be an alarmist. Well, it's hilarious because did this person live through 2020? So Amy says here, don't be an alarmist, I was told. It's funny, this person thinks their armor is safe, so they'll just stick their head in the sand and cross their fingers. But somehow they still have time to tell me not to be an alarmist. How can I not? We currently have thousands of patients across the United States. And yes, Amy prescribes to all 50 states, and many of them are thriving because of NDT medication. She says, the last thing I want is to watch them slip back into a miserable hypothyroid state. The FDA's recent letter makes it clear they're targeting all natural desiccated thyroid medications. That means Armour, NP, all of it. Now, as Amy says, NDT isn't for everyone, but for those who need it, it's life-saving. I'm one of those people. Many can't tolerate Synthroid or T3 alone. They need the natural combo of T4, T3, and T2 found in NDT. As I always say, the best thyroid medication is the one that works for you in the dose that works for you. And again, functional medicine, it's very individualized. This is not a one-size-fits-all philosophy. And Amy ends this post by saying the federal government should not be stripping away your options and forcing you into one cookie-cutter drug. So again, you can write to the FDA. I did that too. I wrote to the FDA. I sent them an email. I'm going to call. I sent emails over the weekend yesterday, but I'm going to call on Monday and listen, while it's still available, if you need help, contact Amy. And here is the petition. Clicking on it. Oh, good. We're up to almost 4,000 signatures. That's awesome. All right. And I did create a video. Looks like a few other people did too. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. We're up to 4 videos. This is great. You can go on this page. I will share the link in the show notes. And here's the issue. This is from Janie A. Bowthorpe, founder since 2002 of the patient-to-patient movement called Stop the Thyroid Madness, speaker and activist in the name of thyroid patients worldwide, and author and editor of 3 best-selling hypothyroid and Hashimoto's books under the STTM umbrella. Not only did porcine natural desiccated thyroid completely change my life when I moved to it in 2002, 2003 from synthetic T4, it has done the same for millions globally. Additionally, under the STTM patient-to-patient movement, we know exactly how to use it correctly based on 23 years of patient-reported experiences and observations and the consistency of the latter. Yet now we have the FDA making completely unfounded claims and false narratives about the so-called dangers of NDT, ignoring and gaslighting the positive realities of patient experiences and clinical outcomes for decades. In fact, NDT has been changing lives since it was first introduced in the 1890s. 1890s. It's been around since the 1890s. She says here, note, that is 130 plus years ago. Additionally, there is a clear manipulative push that all NDT users move to synthetics without allowing the patient to make their own decision as to what is right for their bodies and the quality of their lives. From the FDA's own document, quote, doctors will be able to work with their patients to safely transition them to an FDA-approved thyroid hormone replacement medication. This, unquote. This policy will cause severe harm to thyroid patients, including those who have struggled for years to find an effective treatment. Removing NDT from the market will leave many without a viable replacement, potentially exacerbating their health issues and diminishing their quality of life. We urge the FDA to reconsider its narrow-minded stance and recognize the profound benefits of NDT for thyroid patients, instead of forcing them to go on total synthetic medications they have not chosen. This is not only a matter of the health of millions, but a matter of patient autonomy, allowing individuals to choose the treatment that's best for them based on personal health needs, not regulatory mandates. Join us in demanding that the FDA reverse this decision and preserve access to natural desiccated thyroid for all who need it, plus make it affordable. Please sign this petition to stand with us in this critical battle. And she includes at the end here, please note this is not about current politics. This is only about you as thyroid patients and the need to continue making our choice for what thyroid meds help us, not to be told what we cannot use anymore, which has changed our lives. I 100% agree with that. This is a systemic issue. It doesn't even freaking matter who's the president, what administration, right? We're dealing with a bureaucracy that just does not care. We're run by big pharma, big insurance. I won't go off on that tangent. But the point is, this is a dangerous slope here. They're taking away our medical freedom for thyroid patients, just as they did in 2020 for everybody who maybe wanted to take ivermectin or monoclonal antibodies as a treatment for COVID, which I never got, by the way. Side note. I think it's because of all these things that I have been doing to support my immune system, because in the end, really, Hashimoto's is an immune system problem. The thyroid is actually the target, but it's really an issue with the immune system. So anyway, really for anyone, even if you don't have Hashimoto's or low thyroid function, if you care about medical freedom, I really urge you to sign this petition and help us stop this ban, stop the FDA's madness. It really is madness. It is an assault on medical freedom. And we just cannot let it stand. I, for one, I'll do anything I can to help. I even created a video that I put on this petition page. I've signed the petition. I've emailed my reps. Like I said, tomorrow's Monday. I'm going to be calling offices tomorrow. I emailed the FDA. And listen, if anybody's organizing a march on Washington, D.C., I will join in that too. So again, this is Daria Anne DiGiovanni. I am the founder of True Voice Writing Services, professional storytelling in your authentic voice. I have my own book coming out, My Escape from the Sick Care System, which actually tells the story of my own evolution as a patient. I just want to share it here. My Escape from the Sick Care System, a guide to overcoming PCOS, Hashimoto's, and autoimmune conditions with functional medicine. For decades, I dealt with symptoms that conventional medicine just didn't have an answer for, or they would tell me, this is just what we do. At the age of 19, I knew something was wrong when I went to a gynecologist for help with irregular periods. And she's like, here, take this synthetic hormone. It'll create a false scenario in your body and trick your body into think it's having a period. And I looked at her and I said, what's the point of that, right? And that was really the beginning of I'm going to call it a slow awakening over several decades. But my book it really just tells the story of how I eventually transformed my health by finding functional medicine and bioidentical hormones along the way. It was actually in the year 2002 that I discovered natural progesterone cream in one of the most unlikely places. It wasn't from a doctor. It was actually at a networking meeting for a women's networking group that I belonged to at the time. We would have these monthly dinner meetings with a speaker. And one night the speaker happened to be this businesswoman who talked all about natural progesterone cream. Now, her ultimate motive was really to get people to sign up for a network marketing company, the network marketing company that was producing that particular brand of natural progesterone cream. And that's a whole separate story. But I will say that after years of trying to regulate periods, all I needed was natural progesterone cream. I bought it from this woman. It worked like a charm. Again, this was back in 2002. Never had an issue after that. So that's just another example. I discovered Dr. Atkins somewhere along the way in my journey as well. And his book absolutely blew me away. And I just couldn't believe why, I was very naive back then, why the AMA, the American Medical Association, why they were, calling him a quack and attacking him as this crazy doctor who didn't belong in practice when he was reversing type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease in patients. I was reading case study after case study in his book. Now I understand all these years later. But again, he was another he was another sort of milestone along my health journey. And so I put this book together. It's actually the first in a healthcare trilogy. My second book is going to talk about how I feel about big insurance. And as the daughter of, my dad was a general and vascular surgeon, was excellent. My dad really cared about his patients. He actually was in his own practice because back then doctors could still afford to start their own practice and not be part of a huge corporation, which is what's happening now. But my dad used to fight with insurance companies back then on behalf of his patients, just like Dr. Monica Potter is doing now. But it's so much worse now than it was back then. So I just want to say this is not about hating doctors. My dad was an excellent doctor, general and vascular. I mean, he started the first vascular lab at the hospital that he worked at. His patients loved him, but he always told me surgery is a last resort. I mean, he was a surgeon. Imagine that. Surgery is a last resort because you don't want to put the body through that trauma unless it's really necessary to save someone's life. Now, this was back in the days before laparoscopic surgery. I mean, he was actually cutting people open. But again, my whole point in sharing this is that my issue is with the system, not really with doctors. So this book will be coming out, My Escape from the Sick Care System, A Guide to Overcoming PCOS, Hashimoto's, and Autoimmune Conditions with Functional Medicine. I'm going to say this fall. And if you've ever felt ignored, overwhelmed, or gaslit by traditional medicine, this book will resonate and inspire you to explore a better way forward. And again, I think that this release is timely given the FDA's crackdown on natural desiccated thyroid. So again, I am imploring everyone, whether or not you have a thyroid issue, to please sign the petition and get involved, because this is another assault on medical freedom, and our medical freedom has been under attack now for years. So I hope this made sense. I hope I wasn't rambling too much. Again, I was not planning to create this video today. I am planning on bringing on guests and having an informative educational podcast. And I do have some guests lined up, and I'm really looking forward to interviewing people. But in light of recent developments, I figured I needed to make this video and make this my first episode. So thank you for listening. Please join in the fight. Keep fighting for medical freedom, and we'll see you next time.